So now we get into the more interactive session. We have amongst us a very beautiful and wonderful poet who, and as we say, ladies first, we have a very wonderful lady who is a poet and who is into organizing lots of events with poetry and other related affairs. And may I go to her? Can you guess who is she? Anyone guess? Shorvani, Monami, anyone guess?
I think we can leave it to the audience to guess it for us.
No. Okay. Exactly. And they write wonderful poetry. Maybe go to Monika Di. So, Didi, my question to you is first, would you like to speak from the audience or would you like to come here at the podium? That is my first question to you. Whatever is comfortable for you. Please come. And may I ask you, what triggers in you to write poetry? And would you conclude that with a poem of yours? You have precisely a couple of minutes to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ipshita, for inviting me. Such a lovely evening and such lovely people here. Now, why I write poetry? I write poetry because I write poetry. Because there's a lust for life, a desire to give vent to some of the pent-up emotions. And still in this age of AI and ChatGPT, poetry remains a timeless carrier of emotions. And it can effortlessly join people, reach out to people, and that's why maybe I write poetry.
That's lovely.
And I'll read a very short poem of mine. Rains and unsent letters. This time we had a very prolonged monsoon, so this rain triggered in me some feelings, some emotions, some memories of childhood. So you'll get to hear it. Rains and unsent letters. The rooms of imagination smell of rain. The windows open to a slice of left behind days. Chipped tails on discolored walls. A clothesline of pale blue, dull brown, stale white, swaying in the warm breeze. The chatter of spices and voices from the kitchen. Summer holidays and hopscotch afternoons. The shadow of parents, their lives, akin to the relentless march of red ants to feed the colony, or the shady jackfruit tree, a stern sentinel. With the rains, the story of the courtyard shape-shifts to a Kiarostami movie, where a boy goes in search of his friend's home. The quest for everything eaten up by ravenous time grows robust in me, the greens sprouting and spreading through cracks and fissures, the desires and decays strumming with the downpour. The scent of huzn permeates the air. I write you letters on my lost home, fragile love, faded childhood, but forget to send them. Thank you.
That's so beautiful. Ishitadi, would you like to comment something on that?
I've long been a fan of Mallika's imagery and her content, and this is one more such a beautiful, ছোট বয়সে সুদা গন্ধটা মনে হয় আর কি. I think that is what really struck me through this whole poem. Thank you, Mallika, for being here and sharing your beautiful poetry.
Thank you, Mallika. The book is available in Amazon, and I think 3 copies are there with the poet if you want to grab a copy.
3 gone, 1 left.
3 gone, 1 left. Oh my God, it's a hard cake. So from Mallikadi, we have a poet amongst us who is a multilingual poet, translator, and he loves to experiment with various forms of poetry. Any idea? Rajoshi Patranovish, Rajoshida, please come to the podium. You kind of experiment with multiple forms of poetry, from free verse to so many forms. What triggers you the most to write poetry? The mic is all yours. You keep on experimenting with various forms of poetry, and that's really commendable. From free verse to so many forms, we probably cannot pronounce them properly. Gogoyoshi, Gogoyoka, Haipon, Haiku, and many more
that
forms.
you cannot pronounce them properly is your problem. I pronounce them as Gogioka and Gogiyoshi and Haibun. Haiku, what else?
True.
Okay.
Free verse. And then, so what triggers you the most of these forms?
Actually, good evening everyone. The title of this evening is Why I Write Poetry. The answer to the question is, that's how I write poetry. Because otherwise, experimenting with forms actually keeps me going, and that's how I churn out things. Yes, and as far as I was given a cue before I came here that I actually have to end this session with a poem of mine. So Rituparna had leaked the question paper. So, well, this is, I hate explaining my poem, but just a cue that this is where I write as Radha. I have written quite a few poems where I write as a female. This is a Haibun. Yamuna is Puritan, and so am I. Yamuna is Puritan, and so am I. She's polluted, and so am I. But how's it so that she keeps on flowing and I struggle to move? And moreover, she's the lifeline of Vrindavan, while I am a piece of destitution, a sympathy for some, a joke for others. Why? And you say you are God, you are a liar, a debauch. Ripples, flashed purges of divine, mouth reincarnates. I know and you know too, molten ice is Yamuna. Molten ice is Yamuna, burnt ice is Radhika. Burnt ice is Radhika. Thank you.
That's lovely. May we have one more, please? Another form, probably.
আর ফোনটা ঝামেলা বানাস না আচ্ছা
এটা ভালো লিখেছি মোল্টেন আইস যমুনা and burnt ice sunshine wonderfully written.
tell me something that I don't know in any way.
না মানে এরকম ভাবে অডিয়েন্স থেকে অ্যাপ্রিসিয়েশন পাচ্ছি ভাবছি
I looked around in dismay. I looked around in dismay. The same, I'm writing as Radha, okay? I looked around in dismay, a ditch of my own catastrophic recklessness. Did I hear something? No, I didn't. Maybe I did. Did I hear him call Radha? They say I fell for a dark god. They say I fell for a dark god. They also say that he loved me dearly too. Destiny, pickled in greasy detriments, blissful pain. He belongs to all. I belong to him. He belongs to all. I belong to him. Thank you.
What a lovely form of surrender. It was wonderful. Thank you, Rajoshida. We have amongst us a poet. She teaches in college and probably she teaches English, Ishita.
Priyanka, I think let her introduce herself.
Yeah, let Priyanka Banerjee introduce herself and conclude with a poem of hers.
Priyanka Lomba.
Well, first of all, আমি ঈপ্সিতাদির বোন, সেকেন্ড সংযুক্তা ম্যামের ছাত্রী, ডাইরেক্টলি নয় ইনডিরেক্টলি, যাই হোক আমি লিঙ্গুইস্টিক ডিপার্টমেন্টে ভর্তি হয়েছিলাম, ম্যাম তখন এইচওডি ছিলেন। আর এখন আমি আছি একটা ইঞ্জিনিয়ারিং কলেজ, ফিউচার ইনস্টিটিউট অফ ইঞ্জিনিয়ারিং ম্যানেজমেন্টের অ্যাসিস্ট্যান্ট প্রফেসর, আর বিভিন্ন জায়গায় লেখালেখি করি, ব্যাস এইটুকুই। আর যে কবিতাটা বলবো তার থিমটা একটু সিরিয়াস থিম, আমি ঠিক ডাইরেক্ট পোয়েট্রির ওপরে করে আসতে পারিনি দিদি, সরি, টাইম ছিল না। আসলে সমাজটা এখন একটু, দ্য সোসাইটি হ্যাজ বিকাম এক্সট্রিমলি টার্বুলেন্ট। সো every day I think about our future, the future of future generation, and something within me gets stirred up. Things fall apart. But we, the poets, you know, God has chosen us as very specially gifted, talented human beings who can change the world. So I think that it's the poet's solemn duty to remind, you know, each and every one of his or her duty, and to write something that will make us aware of our surroundings. So here is my poem. The title is Who Am I? Holika's burnt up skin, Macbeth's scene, Abhaya's sordid dreams, dragonflies passionate clinging to human gene. Corrupt cosmos crashes upon the splits of the cracked earth. Eternal play justifies the lover's path. Mossy winding ways give birth to Brutus's wrath. Love seeks solace deep into Cleopatra's charismatic heart. Pearl Harbor shines between her thighs. Celestial dawn speaks out nothing. Fragmented bones do no more feel feminine desire. Dead city wakes up in vain. The Almighty blessed her hungry soul with drops of rain. Slogans and paintings breed a feminine universe. Let's make love and then engulf our betrayed verse of the rhythmic heart. They shook her up as she sang the song of eternal truth. They refused to internalize aura of Ruth. Dreams are silent, though bites were prominent. Horror, horror, Cordelia can no more challenge the verdict of the earth. Squirrels swim across the pond of blood. Static arms are hell-bent on embracing the flood. Blind Socrates will never chant again the unuttered words of stolen history. Hidden minds breathe stories of necromancy, witchery, tombs of celestial pleasures. Forgotten myths give birth to the light years of love. Tonight is a starry sky more precious than a kiss. Bastards' fancy drags green light off our skies, and we still hold on to our hands and cling and defy all the lies. Who am I? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Really, really, as she said, poets, we have the power to change the world and change the world for better. We have amongst us a true polyglot. And I'd like to request her, I'd like to ask her rather, in which language is she most comfortable today to render her poem. Mandakini Bhattacharya, your take on why you write poetry, and I have heard you in Hindi, in Gurmukhi, in Bangla, in English. So in whichever language you are comfortable today.
Thank you so much to this wonderful team of compares. You're doing a great job. Thank you, Ishita, for having me here. And it's so lovely listening to these samples of poetry from all kinds and all genres. So it's lovely being in the middle of so much of warmth. So I'll just begin with my poem called Cosmetic Soul. What is poetry? What is poetry but a tar brush to paint the soul blacker along with my face, from which two slits as eyes peer out, from which two slits as eyes peer out. What is poetry but whitewash? So it was a tar brush, now it's a whitewash. What is poetry but whitewash? To disguise the blemishes, black purple calluses over which you ride, slipshod, distraught, over which you ride, slipshod, distraught. What is poetry but a clown? What is poetry but a clown trying to become coquette, knowing you prefer lily white faces, knowing you prefer lily white faces, nipped waist and pink pout, nipped waist and pink pout. So of course the most immediate appeal for writing poetry in its efficacy is infusing a vision, a profession and a vocation, all three, into action. So I, the poet, becomes here I, the revolutionary, and I, the minstrel singing of the masses. For many critics, poetry is pure art that should preserve its purity by staying aloof from political and social themes. But throughout history, poets have embraced political themes. The Greeks couched their political poetry in myth and symbol, while the Romans were openly political. In India too, during the last several decades, poetry has become the chosen medium of literary activism. Poems and poets ignite many debates. Newspapers depend on poetry to bail out on empty spaces. Entire communities claim progressive status based on the reputation of the poets they harbor. Women of all castes in India, why women write? They present a broader spectrum of unity in India of all castes, though the same cannot be said of women of different races in the USA or the Europe. For example, a Hindi poem written by a Savarna poet like me in support of the Dalit women's literary adventures found place in the Hayati, which is a prestigious print journal published by the Gujarati Dalit Sahitya Akademi. सदियों से फूटती विवशताएं स्पष्ट हैं, सदियों से फूटती विवशताएं स्पष्ट हैं, जननी भगिनी सखी पुत्री भौजाई से महाकाली तक का गमन, कुछ अभिव्यक्त कुछ अनभिव्यक्त है, काया नारी की और चेतना दलित है, काया नारी की और चेतना दलित है. Thank you so much.
क्या बात है. I told you a true polyglot, Mandakini Bhattacharya. We have amongst us a poet, a painter, as well as a publisher.
I just want to say Mandakini is immensely talented. I mean, I'm so much in awe of her because just to write in bilingual is difficult. Gopa and I know that, right? Mandakini, how do you do it? It's amazing. Also, what I really admire is her voice. She has a very social, political sense, and that comes through in her poetry, and that is so wonderful. Thank you, Mandakini.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mandakini, and thank you, Ishita Didi, for your
I wanted to also
for your
talk about Rajoshi.
comments. Yeah, would you please, Ishita?
Rajoshi is prolific. I mean,
He writes Urdu poetry.
yeah, but more than that, he can write 5 poems a day. I mean, that is something. See, Mandakini also writes in multiple languages. Okay, I mean that's immensely talented. But I don't know how many poets we know can write 5 to 6 poems a day. He is a poetry churner. That's amazing.
And recently his last book which has come out is a translated book from Sylheti. So that's really what অনেকগুলো ভাষাই রাজস্বীদার মাতৃভাষা হয়ে গেছে এখন. So that's really very commendable. So as I mentioned, we have amongst us a poet, painter as well as a publisher. Sharbojit da, I'd like to ask you, what triggers you the most in your world of creativity? Wherever you are comfortable.
Thank you.
And obviously you give a closure with a poem.
Yeah, good evening. I woke down and I forgot the question. Can I hear it once again, please?
You are a poet, painter, and a publisher. So, what triggers you most?
No question? Okay.
Reflection.
Actually, this was not in my mind when I came here. I mean, entered this hall, and it was everything. What I was thinking about was about Ipshita and Ipshita's poetry, because that was the focal point. Okay. Now, anyway, I'll answer your question next. Okay. But to start with, I have read some of Ipshita's poem, not all. I have read a couple of poems. Right now I was reading it. And overall, I can tell you about Ipshita. He is a kind of a person who is bubbly, of course. I mean, very lively, always in a very positive mood, always finding out something good and positive surrounding herself, and to whoever she talks to, whoever she meets. Now this is a very, very rare quality in any human being. But she's a poet. Now, what makes her a poet? I don't know. Only 2% in this world might be answering this question. Why she writes poetry? One is herself and the other one is God. Nobody else can answer this question, of course. As for any poet, nobody can answer why this person born into this world comes up with certain thoughts, which in Indian tradition we say bhab. Okay, not even anubhav. Anubhav is feeling. I'm talking about something which goes beyond anubhav, because what comes first is the bhab. Now, those are little waves. I imagine an ocean where a lot of waves are coming and it's going up, coming to the shore, and then went out again. So why this happens, and whenever it happens, I'm sitting at the shore, on the shore, and it's coming, a lot of bhabs are coming. Why is it coming? Where is it coming from? I never could understand, even now. So many years I have lived in this world. Now the same thing happens with all the poets in this world, and the same thing happens with, I think, with Ipshita also. Now, the thing is that I always felt that a poet, whoever writes a poem is a poet, and whoever doesn't write a poem also. I mean, somebody who doesn't have that access to language, is he a poet? Is she a poet? Yes, I always got this answer, yes, she also is a poet or he also is a poet. Why? Because her or his heart or mind acts as a container to all the feelings or the bhab which surrounds us all the time. So that is basically why Ipshita writes. I think that's the answer to it. And whenever I read her poetry, I find that there are two aspects to it. One, which is of course very bubbly, which is very exciting, which is very enthusiastic, which is like saying something very positive about the world. But there is also a very minute, maybe, but something, not a sorrow. I won't say it's a sorrow. I won't say it's a grief. I won't say it's a pain. But something lies beyond or behind that enthusiastic and the very positive vibrations she emits. It's always there. And that's what makes her a poet too. And like all poets, that's what makes a poet. Because a poet, in a way, is like everybody else. He's a common man, okay. But at the same time, he is a person who can transcend time, who can transcend the past, the present, and the future. So, in a way, he or she becomes a visionary. Like the Greeks used to say, the poets are seer. And in Indian tradition, we used to say droshta. It means the same thing. Who can view, who can see. What does he see? He sees beyond what other people like us, common people like us, can't see. He or she can see through that and see beyond that. So that is a very interesting thing. And that's what is hugely there in her poetry also. I mean, people talked about it a lot. She loves to write about food. She loves to talk about the good things in life. She loves about exciting things in life. She loves to talk about, write about, very positive moments in life. Okay, all that is true. But go beyond the lines, read between the lines, you will find there are subtle waves which are like coming very slowly, but moving very slowly. But that is what is just leaving a very, sort of echoing effect, and that remains with the readers like us. I won't read my poem, but I'll read one poem of hers, which I loved it as I was reading it. And there's a simile, because I used it to, I was also from the corporate world, okay. And most of my life I was touring, I was into sales and marketing and blah, blah, blah. But I used to stay in hotels. And Ipshita's poem is titled Of Hoteliering. In this industry, where each one of us go up on stage every day to weave memories through experiences that the guest will carry home. In the cauldron called back of the house, there is relentless activity in a planned thematic matter, which at every moment threatens to run amok, and yet every day it falls in place. A synergy of sorts that culminates into cherished memory. And so, a hotel is a factory in a very different way, where the back of the house, in the shop floor, where everyone is rushing, and the front of the house is the stage, where everything works as per clockwork precision to ensure the perfect moment of truth to be cherished. That's where she is. Moment of truth to be cherished. That point of interaction where each hotelier comes in contact with each guest, taking care of their needs, making sure that albeit temporarily, the guest feels cherished in a home away from home. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shobhita, and thank you for the selection. It was a wonderful
That was a
selection.
very unusual poem that you selected, Shobhita.
Actually,
very dear to me for obvious reasons,
For
but
the
very
obvious
unusual.
reasons.
Actually-
I don't think most people are going to.
Why I selected
pick it
this?
up.
Because it suddenly reminded me of my own poem, which I had in my published book, and that was Nights in Anandalok Hotel. Now, Anandalok is a hotel in Midnapur town, and whenever I used to visit there for official jobs, I used to stay there. And I had a very particular room selected always. Whenever I used to go, before that I used to tell them that this is the room I'm going to stay. And that room particularly gave me a feeling. Distance is the horizon, and that room always told me stories come from hotel rooms only.
Absolutely.
All stories, because so many people lived, so many
Yeah.
people left, and they all carried or they left some stories there.
Yeah.
If I am the poet, then I am there to catch it and give it back to you. That's it.
Collect those resonance, archive it, and portray it in another form.
You can feel that.
Yeah.
Shadran log later people cannot
Yeah.
feel that.
As Shobhita aptly said that we all might not be poets. Yeah, Ipshita Di, I think.
Thanks.
Yeah, sure. Rupadi, see you and thanks for being there. Let's continue. Let's not break the chain. Shobhita rightly said that all of us, we are not poets, like poets who are writing abilities, but then at heart we are poets. So, and রূপাদি একটু আগে মেনশন করছিল যে আমরা সবাই বাঙালি, যারা আমরা বাংলায় কথা বলি তারাও আমরা বাঙালি, যারা আমরা বাংলায় থাকি হয়তো মাতৃভাষা বাংলা নয়, she loves to be with the poets, and she also does a lot for the cause of poetry. তো মৃদুলাদের কাছ থেকে আমরা একটু শুনে নিই যে পোয়েট্রির মধ্যে এমন কি ম্যাজিক্যাল ওয়্যান্ড আছে যেটা মৃদুলাদির ভেতরে চার্ন করে, আর যেটা হেল্পস টু রোল সর্বজিৎ দা অন অ্যাজ আ পাবলিশার, ইফ আই এম নট রং। মৃদুলাদি, তুমি পডিয়ামে এসো।
Thank you, Ritu. Thank you, Ipshita. Really, I feel honored and she invited me today. And special, I feel honored. You give me a chance to say something about this. Yes, she is right. I am not a poet. I am not writing. But I love poets. I like poets. And I stay with this vibe of poets, writer, and all those things. Sometimes before somebody told AI, through AI, I feel two things is not possible. One is writing poetry, another is nursing. I am a nurse. I am working in BM Birla Heart Research Center. Nursing is not possible through AI, as well as through AI not possible to write poetry. From core of heart it comes, it should come, then only can be. So thank you very much. Why, here question why I am writing poet, but my question why I like poet. Yes, I say some small things. My fascination with poetry stems from its ability to condense vast emotions and complex ideas into a few carefully chosen words. It's an art form that operates on two levels: the explicit meaning of the words and the implicit feelings they evoke. This duality is what makes poetry so powerful. And my husband is a poet, I choose him. Although it is a very problematic because maximum poets are not in this world. They are roaming out.
Especially Shobhajita.
And especially. And with them, life leading is very tough, but I feel very good because it is challenging in my life. One day, one poet told me, Mriduladi, no need to prove yourself because 35 years you are staying with Sarvajita, that's enough proof. But thank you very much for all poets. I love you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mriduladi. And let me leak out something here. One day Sarvajita told me, আরে তোর দিদির সাথে এত বছর থেকে গেলাম কি করে জানিস? তার মেন ক্রাইটেরিয়াটা হচ্ছে ভীষণ ভালো রান্না করে।
I heard I guess I saved the best for the last because I had gone out, but I mean, মূল বক্তব্যটা শুনে নিয়েছি।
And she cooks poetry within Sarvajita. She's a lovely chef.